Right now, while the rest of the world still debates if small modular nuclear reactors are technically feasible, China is already using them to power real homes. Before you dismiss this as overhyped headlines, stay with me. What China has achieved is not a lab prototype, low-stakes pilot, or flashy investor PPT. They've built 2 fully operational commercial mini-nuclear reactors, both online, feeding real electricity into the grid and powering everyday households right now. One, a pebble-filled helium-cooled reactor, entered full commercial operation in 2023 with almost no global media coverage. The other, Linglong 1, was assembled like Lego on a tropical island, on track to power over 500,000 homes when it launches in 2026. This is the silent nuclear revolution no one in the West is talking about, and it's already here. If you find this underreported, in-depth energy content valuable, a like on this video will genuinely help others find it too. Thank you.
I am now at the construction site of Linglong 1 SMR, and right behind me, that metallic cactus-looking pillar is the core of this reactor. And today I can see that many engineers are working very closely together to ensure a safe installation of the reactor.
To understand how game-changing this is, you first need to know the global nuclear industry's embarrassing dirty secret. For 70 years, we've built nuclear power the exact same way. Massive gigawatt-scale behemoths, custom-built on-site, with 10-plus-year timelines, tens of billions in cost overruns, all relying on 19th-century logic, boil water to spin a turbine. Here's the humiliating truth. Even the world's most advanced large nuclear reactor only converts 33% of its heat into usable electricity. The other 2/3 is literally thrown away, dumped as excess heat into the ocean or air. Every coal, gas, and traditional nuclear plant is essentially an extremely expensive machine for wasting most of the energy it produces. Worse, this large reactor model is broken. Western nuclear projects are consistently years late and billions over budget, with small reactor projects collapsing left and right. Companies run out of money, governments back out, and projects are canceled before construction even starts. The old nuclear model was too big, too slow, too expensive, and too risky to survive. While the world debated how to fix it, China built a better alternative. So what makes these Chinese mini-reactors so different? Let's break them down in plain English, no confusing jargon. First, the world's first commercial 4th-generation high-temperature gas-cooled reactor in Shandong's Shidao Bay. Forget what you know about nuclear cores. This isn't one large, volatile cylinder of enriched uranium. Its core is made of hundreds of thousands of billiard-sized fuel pebbles, each an indestructible mini-nuclear battery, tiny uranium particles wrapped in 3 layers of graphite and silicon carbide, materials tough enough to withstand temperatures hotter than molten steel without cracking or leaking. Stacked like gumballs in a machine, these pebbles create a self-regulating reaction. If the reactor gets too hot, the reaction slows naturally on its own, no human input or backup systems needed. A meltdown is physically impossible. Instead of water to cool the core, water that can boil away, corrode pipes, or cause explosions, this reactor uses inert helium gas. Helium doesn't react with anything, can't boil, freeze, or explode, even at the reactor's 950 degrees C operating temperature. It's like replacing your car's radiator water with a gas that never breaks down, rusts parts, or fails. Then there's Linglong 1, the world's first onshore commercial small modular reactor built on Hainan Island. Its superpower isn't just size, it's how it's built. Traditional reactors are custom-built on site, one piece at a time, like building a mansion from scratch in a swamp. Linglong 1's every part is factory-built in a controlled environment, tested to nuclear-grade standards, then shipped to the site and assembled like Lego. No more 10-year timelines, no more billion-dollar surprise costs. Each unit puts out a 125 megawatts, enough for 260,000 homes. 2 units power over 500,000 families, with a footprint smaller than a football field. At this point, you're probably asking, if this technology is so revolutionary, safe, and superior, why hasn't the rest of the world built it already? The answer: these reactors aren't just a small tweak to existing tech. They required solving 3 extreme engineering nightmares that stumped Western scientists for 60 years. First, the high-temperature material science nightmare. That 950 degrees C operating temperature made commercialization impossible for decades. At these temperatures, even the strongest steel slowly stretches and deforms over time, what engineers call creep. Imagine a steel pipe holding nuclear pressure, slowly stretching like a sun-warmed candy bar, year after year. For 40 years, Western scientists failed to find a material that could withstand this heat, resist helium corrosion, and be mass-produced affordably. China didn't just find it, they perfected it and built a commercial reactor with it. Second, the precision manufacturing nightmare of modular reactors. To assemble a nuclear reactor like Lego, every part must be built to a tolerance of less than a millimeter. We're talking 100-ton steel reactor vessels, pipework that withstands 150 times atmospheric pressure, all factory-built, shipped across the ocean, and fitted perfectly on the first try. The tiniest flaw breaks the seal, halts operation, or creates a safety risk. Western companies spent billions trying to crack this level of nuclear mass manufacturing, and most went bankrupt trying. Third, the regulatory and validation nightmare. The Western nuclear industry is still traumatized by Chernobyl and Fukushima. Regulators refuse to accept a meltdown-proof reactor without decades of test data. The public is terrified of anything labeled nuclear. While Western governments held endless hearings and wrote thousands of pages of safety reports, China built these reactors, ran hundreds of extreme safety tests, including shutting down all cooling and power to prove the reactor would safely shut itself down, and launched commercial operation. The result? China has done what the rest of the world is still only talking about. The Xidaobei reactor didn't just pass its tests, it entered full commercial operation in December 2023, the world's first fourth-generation nuclear reactor to hit this milestone. It's already pumping 200 megawatts of clean electricity into the grid, powering homes and factories across Shandong, with zero meltdown risk. Linglong 1 finished installing its core module in 2024, right on schedule. When it launches in 2026, its 2 units will put out 250 megawatts, enough for 526,000 Hainan households. This isn't a one-off. China already plans to build over 30 more Linglong 1 reactors across the country, in remote areas, on islands, and next to industrial parks. But here's the part almost no energy videos cover. The real silent driver of this nuclear revolution isn't fighting climate change. It's artificial intelligence. Tech giants like Google, Microsoft, and Amazon are quietly pouring billions into nuclear power right now, and it has nothing to do with being green. It's about keeping their AI data centers from crashing the grid. A single large AI cluster uses as much electricity as a city of 300,000 people, 24/7, 365. AI is consuming electricity faster than any grid on Earth was designed to handle. Solar and wind can't keep up. They only work when the sun shines or the wind blows. Grid-scale batteries are far too expensive for year-round 24/7 backup. Mini nuclear reactors are the only clean, reliable 24/7 power source that can be built right next to a data center, no massive transmission lines needed. You don't have to upgrade an entire grid to power an AI supercluster, just drop a Linglong 1-style reactor next door and plug it in. That's the real revolution. China didn't just build a better nuclear reactor, they built the only power source that can keep up with the AI boom. Now, before we get carried away with visions of a nuclear-powered utopia, let's get the honest, unvarnished truth, because the headlines have been more dramatic than reality warrants. First, this technology is still in its early days. 2 commercial reactors are a massive achievement, but it's not a global takeover. To move the needle on global emissions and energy access, we need hundreds, even thousands of these reactors, not just 2. Second, cost. Right now, these mini reactors are still more expensive per kilowatt hour than large-scale nuclear, coal, or gas. Costs will fall with mass production, but that will take time. We're still years away from these being the cheapest option on the grid. Third, nuclear waste. While these reactors produce far less waste than traditional plants, and Xidaobei's waste is more stable and easier to store, they still generate high-level radioactive waste. There is still no permanent global solution for long-term nuclear waste storage. That problem hasn't gone away. Finally, global adoption. China may have cracked the engineering, but the rest of the world won't just flip a switch and adopt these reactors. Western countries have strict, slow nuclear regulation, deep public fear of nuclear power, and geopolitical tensions that make importing Chinese nuclear technology extremely difficult. The West isn't just a few years behind. They're stuck in a cycle of regulation, public pushback, and financial risk that will take decades to escape. 70 years ago, nuclear energy promised the world unlimited, clean power for everyone. For decades, it failed to deliver, trapped by a model that was too big, too slow, too risky. Today, China has flipped that script. Small, safe, factory-built nuclear reactors are no longer science fiction. They're here, they're running, and they're already changing the future of energy. The countdown to the global nuclear revolution has started. Now, I want to hear from you. Which industry do you think this technology will transform first? AI data centers, remote communities, global shipping, or something else entirely? Drop your answer in the comments below. If you want to stay up to date on the underreported energy and tech revolutions changing our world, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive.